Hello, gentle people. It's really good to have everyone here. I can say that right now we're running the attunement theater at our house. I'll turn on my camera and kind of give you a visual of what's going on. So this is this is what's going on here. It's sort of a process to help surface any issues within the RChain community. And make sure that we're all in alignment as we're about to roll into testnet and then into mainnet in December. We have a lot of exciting developments to get through. As usual, though, we prioritize the technical updates in this call. So I would like to, as quickly as possible, turn it over to Meta. Are you in a place, Meta, where you can pick it up? Awesome. Okay, so over to you then.
Good morning, everyone. I apologize for the background noise. It's quite busy over here. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Is that coming through okay, Kelly?
Your screen is coming through fine. Your voice is choppy.
So the development team has really turned their focus. There's only so much that I can do. I am, believe it or not, streaming off of my phone. So I'm going to do the best that I can. I'll try to speak slowly and clearly. So the development team has turned its attention towards stability and performance of the platforms. We have been focusing a lot on both measuring performance, tuning performance, and fleshing out bugs that we're discovering as a result of that, both usability bugs as well as performance bugs and functional bugs between consensus, communications, and Node. We're also implementing some features that are required for testnet, which is the new deployment payment parameters in the deploy API. Node validators that joined us on Tuesday would have had the opportunity to observe those basic parameters in the deploy API. We had terrific turnout this Tuesday. We had almost 60 people on the call and a fully connected network of 32 peers. And we were able to observe multiple deploy and proposes, as well as validators being able to join later on. So, with a living blockchain, you have nodes coming onto the blockchain and leaving the blockchain at any point in time via the bonding and unbonding contracts. And when a validator bonds later on, they need to be able to get up to speed on the state. And that means blocks need to be passed to them. And we need for the network to do this very efficiently and effectively. So these are some of the changes that we were able to observe last week. The Rholang team is also working on the registry specification, and we're working on the Genesis block approval protocol. So those are things that are needed in part for testnet. We're also working on the API to fetch data. We need that for Greg's killer app, and we also need that for our sharding contracts. Our cross-shard contracts are in review. For those of you that want to see some Rholang, some rather large, complex Rholang contracts, you can see those in GitHub. Mike Stay created a pull request for those. There's still some work to be done in terms of tuning and polishing those contracts, but for the most part, the base functionality is in there. And we're starting some work on the unbonding contracts. The node team and storage team is working on the performance harness. As I alluded to, one of the most important things we want to demonstrate is the performance and stability of the network at testnet launch. We're also, as part of that, we're building a thinner gRPC client in Scala. The default RNode client that instantiates the gRPC API is really slow. You'll notice that it says, loading profile, configuration default, and then it will execute the deploy or propose. And that's the amount of time it takes to spin that all up is actually much slower than what's needed to even run a performance test. So we're building a separate thin client to serve that purpose. That'll be for Gatling. We're refactoring the in-memory LMDB store to basically remove some of the LMDB dependencies so it becomes pure in memory. And we've got a new working comms layer. This is for the Kademlia peer discovery protocol. There's a small use case with Casper that requires some more investigation, and that's being investigated. And we're creating some integration tests to make sure that this is all stable before we actually push it into dev. We've separated the deploy API. As you know, there's going to be internal APIs that will be used only by the validator. And then the external API will be really the deploy API where those validating nodes can accept deploy calls, right, from end users. We've got some great usability bugs that were reported as a result of node testing, and we're getting those fixed. And then we're focusing a lot on Bootstrap node monitoring. The intention is that Bootstrap nodes will be behind the DNS, basically a name, right? So we'll figure out a name. Greg has an action item to figure out the name of our testnet. But basically, you'll want, when you boot up a node, you'll connect to the testnet to Bootstrap before you select a shard. The Rholang team, they discovered a non-determinism issue. We caught that again through our integration tests. And there's some details on which function was being non-deterministic. We've got a solution. Alex has worked around it. The team is pushing really hard to tie up their loose ends and button up their work so they can join the other teams come Monday. Seems like we're still on track. They might have to push to the weekend. Let's talk about the website a little bit. So please go to developer.rchain.coop. It's the best place to get started working with the RChain software. And rock holders, this is where you go for your rock swap updates. Sign up to receive emails so you can get notified on updates to the process. RCon 3, we've got a program that's published. Please go check that out at the conference link listed below. And we've got new workshops that have been added to the Hackerspace track. So many thanks to co-op members for proposing and delivering on these workshops. We've had a 38% increase in registration since the last community update. If you've planned to attend and received a promotion code that expires on August 15th, do not delay your registration. We also sent out email, many thanks to Ian and Patrick for getting that done to the members. So members, you should have received an email with a co-op member discount code. Please do share that. We want to get as much turnout as we can for this conference. Our goal is 500. Please join us. Tell your friends to be there to celebrate the launch of testnet. We believe we'll be making history. So the first pure proof of stake consensus protocol in the blockchain space. I'm very excited to be part of it, and I hope you can join us there. That's it for my update. I'm going to turn it over for questions.
Hey, Meta, I noticed, or from the last hangout, you said there would be some, at the conference, RCon 3, there'd be some signing parties. Will those keys be something like traditional, like PGP keys, or are these going to be things that we create there at the conference themselves?
Kelly, do you want to talk about the keys? I think you're working on coordinating that, right? The key signing?
I am working on coordinating that, and Kenny, I fully understand your questions, and I don't know the answer to it at all, so I'll take that as an action item to find out.
Meta, I'd like to ask a question. You characterized our testnet as being the first proof of stake network, and I thought we get that message out. We should define exactly what it is in first in, and we should get that message out. That's awesome. It's great.
Yes, it is. It's a pretty big deal. I think a lot of people in the blockchain space will absolutely be watching us. There are many consensus protocols out there that are delegated proof of stake, but ours will be the first pure proof of stake consensus protocol. It is very exciting and a little nerve-wracking. Can I just say that?
Yes, yes, you can, Meta. It's radical transparency, right? Part of our transparency is our own trepidation about the extent of what we're doing here. No, absolutely. Any other questions for Meta before we move on?
You can always catch me on Discord. Just feel free to tag me in any of the channels. If you have a question, don't hesitate to ask. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you, Meta. Yeah, I'm very, very happy about the progress that's happening in the dev. Also, I want to report, we should send out good wishes to Kayvon. Kayvon had a bicycling accident and broke his hand in 3 places. So, but before that happened, he was able to get the node running on a Raspberry Pi. So that means our node also runs on ARM architecture. But please send out goodwill to Kayvon so that for a speedy recovery. I will say that Kayvon has been doing excellent work. He's also got the proxy between our the major demo. There's a call from an external app into the proxy, and the proxy then turns around and uses the gRPC API to call into the node, and then also return the data back. I will talk a little bit about this because we sort of want to get the word out to people. It's really going to be very important to have as many eyeballs on the September event as possible. So I want to give you guys a preview of what's happening so that you can entice other people to come. But I'll do that after I mention that the Validator sale docs are in the RChain repo under legal docs/Validator sale. So if you go there, you can see those now. They're still labeled with draft, and we're changing that now. But the most important, the high-level bit that people need to understand is that we already have almost half of the 80 million rocks spoken for. So the sale went live on Monday, and we have almost half of the 80 million rocks spoken for. So if people want to validate, if they want to get in on this sale, it would be a good idea to do this right away.
Can you state the price of the rock?
We'll talk to each one individually because we're getting folks coming in in large blocks, and so it's more on a case by case basis at this point.
So do we give an offer? I mean, how does it work? It's very not clear, and that's concerning.
Okay. Again, yes. You can if you want to participate in the sale, please come to me directly, and we'll walk through what the pricing options are. We're having to do this on a case by case basis rather than to make it a one size fits all, because different people are coming in at different volumes.
But it's bothersome that for 4 weeks now, a lot of us have been waiting to hear a price, and now you're telling us the sale already went live, and people who have already approached you I mean, it's just the process is very not clear, and that doesn't feel right.
Okay, all right. I hear you, Jacob. This has to do with volumes. So it's not very far from today's spot price, is what I can say. So most people coming in at the standard volumes are just getting a small percentage discount off of spot price. That's the clearest I can be at this point.
Well, it doesn't feel like it's been handled well, but I understand what you're saying clearly.
Okay.
But I mean, it's not. I have submitted an offer to, for example, Deanna, and I haven't had a rich back and forth or anything. It's almost pretty much been dismissed, and it reminds me of how things went down in December, where I initiated the sale, and I again was banned from participating in this sale. And I really don't know how it feels.
No, I appreciate your concern. I hope you do remember that you made statements which made it legally impossible for us to sell to you. That was really just the way you manage your communications. Here I can be as clear as possible, which is that within 5% of spot price is where the bulk of the sales are landing.
All right, moving on.
Okay, awesome. No, I appreciate your concerns. And so thank you for that. So again, if people want to get on the sale, now is the time to get in on the sale. All right. So the next topic is the demo itself. So I'll now begin the process of describing to this community what the demo will look like. We are going to be providing access to audio data of unheard of quality and unheard of. It's a completely different kind of experience. So it's a fully immersive 3D experience. The data will reside on chain. So our chain has the ability to handle audio data being stored on chain. We have some very, very high profile artists who have committed to delivering content in this way for the demo, and that will open the gates for many, many, many more artists coming in to deliver content to their audiences this way. What people will be able to experience is they'll be able to download players from well-known app stores, and they'll be able to query for audio content from the chain. They will be able to then request that content and play it on their devices, whether it's an iPhone or Android phone or something like that. And we will have smart contracts which are keeping track of the plays. So the demo will come with some tokens that are just specific for this demo, and the plays will then distribute the tokens out to the artists who have done the plays, who have contributed the content. So that's the nature and the shape of the demo. It will be so that people understand RChain is not in the audio business. What this demo is for is to make it clear to people the kind of performance that they can expect from RChain, even at this early stage of testnet. And the ecosystem will be supported by well, the call to action, I think is probably the better way to say it, is to go through Resonate, which is one of our RChain companies, which is going to pick up the demo and turn it into a fully fledged project, fully fledged product that will hopefully, or what we believe is actually revolutionize the audio industry. This is an incredible moment. It's a watershed moment because the kind of audio data that you'll be hearing is unlike anything you've ever heard before. Once you hear this for yourself, it will you'll never want to go back. And the whole setup creates a mechanism whereby content providers, artists, such as the California Guitar Trio or Stickmen or Imogen Heap, will be able to directly reach out to their fans without anyone in between, right? The smart contract mechanism will provide the kind of transparency in accounting that makes it possible to be a creative in today's market. So We believe that this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is really just the very, very beginning. But this is something that we feel is the kind of application that we need in order to drive the transaction volumes. So again, the argument that we've been making that seems to be landing with people who want to stake the network is that it's not just that we have 3 orders of magnitude greater throughput. It's not just that the transaction fees will be a tiny fraction of what the transaction fees are on the other networks. It's also because we will attract volume because we have about 30 companies committed to building applications on top of the RChain platform. And the kinds of applications that we're attracting are applications like this, where we're literally revolutionizing an entire industry. So this seems to be why we have the phone ringing off the hook in terms of the Validator sale. And we really want the community to get engaged. We really need the community to help spread the word that you want to be at RCon. Because whatever I'm telling you, whatever you're hearing now, is not going to be anything like the experience. Once you have the experience, you just won't want to go back. So we really need to get the word out. If there's anyone that you know in the community that you think is a thought leader or an influencer or someone who just has a lot of connections in the network, you really want to help them get to RCon 3 so that they can help get the word out about this. I am really at a loss for words as to how watershed a moment this is. So let me stop there and check for any questions. Yeah. Any questions either about the Validator sale or the demo that we're launching in September?
Hey, Greg, one of the things that you had mentioned earlier, and might bear repeating, is that once this music comes down, you can stream it on nearly any player. Was that right?
No, not nearly any player, any device. The player has to have some special technology. We won't be talking about that here, but we will be talking about that in September. So any device, but not. So I'm making a distinction between a player, which is a piece of software, versus a device.
Okay.
So
good.
Yeah.
Good to know. That's huge.
Yeah. Absolutely. We're very, very excited. So unless there are any other questions about the demo, I would like to turn it over to Pithia and Reflective to give an update on the business side. Going once, going twice. Okay, Lawrence, do you want to take it?
Yeah, well, let me kick off with saying I would like to welcome Lucidity to the RChain ecosystem. They are a B2B ad tech company. So this is going to be one of the early ones where we're starting to carve out, from an RChain perspective, changes in industries. Something very specific to the way digital advertising is done. This is a pure data and reporting play. Also want to shout out for Roland Waters, who shepherded this deal to close. Team is based in LA. They've got a 10-year history together with multiple exits. They are part of the Interactive Advertising Bureau, so they're on one of the working committees. So they've got the who's who of brands in their reach. And what I've done is dropped a few tidbits on what they're doing, on some of the things that are happening in the industry for digital advertising to really highlight some of those. So it's got a list of their customers, hoping to get them out to Berlin. And on a future call, just wanted to see if there's any other highlights, but this is going to show, again, the scale and breadth of RChain, because as you all know, there are millions of eyeballs seeing digital advertising every day. There's a lot of let's call it inaccuracies in the industry. And this is an opportunity for blockchain, and most specifically RChain, to demonstrate how we can clean up that industry. So this is really another super exciting opportunity. We'll talk about some other deals later next week. Also want to introduce our partnership with AWS Blockchains, Amazon's blockchain group. For our portfolio companies, we're going to be able to offer up to $100,000 in credits. So please do see me if you're interested. As we start bringing companies on, we'll be able to help that scale, and we'll announce some other partnerships with Amazon. Third and most interesting, or maybe one of the more interesting, November 15th, we'll be co-hosting with the Department of International Trade for the British government a deal day in San Francisco. But the deadline, unfortunately, is August 31st. So if you're interested in getting into that deal day, I do need to get people, and we'll put up a place on the website and a link that you can write to us for pitches, or you can always send them to pitches@pithia.com, and that'll be really exciting. And Greg, I will circle back with you on Lucidity. They're interested in you giving a quote as we do a broader press release along with the other term sheets that we've got out. So that's it from us for today.
Thank you very much, Lawrence. I appreciate that. Certainly advertisements and ad tech on the blockchain is a key element of driving transactions through the chain. So we're very excited about that addition. Fantastic. So Reflective, who's on the call from Reflective?
Greg, you've got Greg here. It's exciting to be out here for the H3 Uni thing and everybody buzzing around, so I apologize for some of the background noise here, but I'll jump through a few things. One, we were talking about the Validator side of things. So there is an email address, Greg, I think you know this, that's staking@rchain.coop. We'll put that into the link as well, since we're sort of handling the top end of that funnel. The website is coming. There's a lot more information that's coming out there. I know on our side, on the validators, just from our past trips and who we're talking to, I think the guys were telling we've got 80 plus that are ready to go, if not more, that have made a commit to come in on a side. So we've started to push our portfolio companies. Greg, you were asking for that on the node calls that are happening on Tuesdays. So I think we saw a higher increase in the number of folks that were on that call. So we're trying to drive our 23 or 24 portfolio companies there as well. And then also for the DevCon, Reflective's trying to work as hard as we can to get our companies out there. So for those companies that may not have heard from us yet, you should have all on how logistically we're going to do that. So we're really trying to get as many people out there, because we know a lot of great announcements are going to be happening there. An event that's happening next week at the RChain and Reflective offices in Pioneer Square, the Designers in Blockchain. We expect a little over 50 that are going to be there. A link is coming up on the Zoom channel here for that. That goes from 6:30 to 8:30. So we're super excited to have those guys, and it's going to show again kind of how we're opening the space up to community members, RChain community members that are looking to host something there. So that is happening next Wednesday. I wanted to go through, because we continually get the questions on sort of how we're performing based off of the agreement that we struck back in, I guess it was the middle of January is when we started on the fund. So we had, for those of you that may or may not know, to kind of refresh on a set amount of KPIs, and quite a few of them actually, that we promised to withhold or stand up to on the Reflective side of things. And one of those, I'll go through them, was that we would at all times have at least 6 different companies in the pipeline, and that's been pretty easy for us. We probably get 6 a week, if not more. just so everybody knows, we have gone through and taken serious consideration on over 400 companies that have come our way. There's been probably a couple hundred more that have come in that that haven't quite made it to even the consideration stage. And for that, we've made 23 investments. So we were tasked to do 3 per quarter for 12 in the total 12-month period, and we've just about doubled that in a little over 6 months. So I wanted to give that check in. Another one of the KPIs we were tasked with was to bring on an insurtech company, and we did that with ReSure. And I think Greg is talking to them now about potentially even sitting on as an advisor on their board. So we're super excited about that. We're also asked to bring in strategic partnerships, and a total of 3. We've done that with Augmate, who's the IoT play, and then the 4 different universities that we've struck partnerships with as well. We were also asked to push out and try to move or motivate some of the exchanges for the ROC Rev. And with the guys' recent trip to Asia, with the excitement that was mounting about that, and kind of the push from that side of things, it looks like we're going to be on 4, if not 4 more exchanges within the next 30 to 60 days. And that's all based off of what is happening out there in the community and what we're hearing, and by what we're sort of pushing out on that. One of the objectives we had as well was on the office space. I've been super excited for anybody that's come down to see it in Pioneer Square. It's come together great. We've hosted a number of events there already. It's exciting to see the RChain community come in and use the space, as well as our portfolio companies. So I believe we've got 3 portfolio companies working out of that office space now. We're also tasked to do events. We did events. We were asked to do 4 a year that we would attend and be a part of. I can say that we've done several dozen between the team all across the world. And for hosting events, we've hosted 11 different events, and all of them had 50 plus attendees. And that's really goes to speak to how this has grown and for the RChain community, and how we're sort of pushing that out. And with these companies and with these things that we're doing, we're receiving a tremendous amount of coverage from the media and on the press side of things. And we're aligning that very much with Patrick and the team that's running the marketing side at RChain to make sure that RChain is promoted as much as anything else. We're staying completely away from any of the entanglements that can happen with the SEC. So we're happy to say that we've been completely compliant under all the regulatory issues that have with that. We're not big fans of pointing out or talking about any of that, as you can imagine, in the press and in the media. So we're really excited about that. And then I guess lastly, as I get these questions about what we're doing on the reflective side, and I hope that was a good recap, and we're happy to find other formats if it's easier for the community to understand what we're doing and always have that transparency. I do get the questions asked, and Greg, I push it back to you, or I'll push it over to Pithia, and that is, what is happening with Pithia? What are their KPIs? When is their deal going to be signed? And I can't answer that question. I don't know what's happening there, but I can tell you that the community is coming to folks on our team, and when we're out there and we run into that issue, we're running out of answers to say that. So, you know, with the positive side that's coming out of what we're doing, I can't quite answer on the other. So I would push that over to you, Greg, or anybody else that could answer that question for us.
No, your question is very timely. It turns out that as of last week, we ironed out the last issues on the document for the revised deal, and we expect to sign today. So that was.
And and Greg, are there going to be the KPIs and sort of what is happening on their side?
Yeah,
okay.
they're absolutely
okay.
KPIs, and and that was making sure that all of that was ironed out to both sides' satisfaction, because both sides want accountability. So your question was perfectly timed.
Good. Okay. Perfect. I don't want to answer it anymore, so I'm glad we can push that aside then. All right.
Yeah. No. It's great. I'm really glad you were.
Sure.
Yeah. Great. After you, Greg. I was just wanted to ask, is there any more updates on your side?
No. I was just going to say, if there's any questions from the community or any way that we can sort of be a little more transparent or let you guys know kind of what's happening with us, feel free to ping us, come down to our office, ask me here. We're always available.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the work. Yeah, go ahead.
So this is Jonathan. I want to follow up on Greg Heiss's comments about Asia. As some of you may know, Will Q and I have started a weekly RChain Asia weekly debrief to supplement the RChain weekly debrief that we're in currently, because the time zone difference is just really, really challenging for people in these time zones in East Asia to participate. So it may not be generally known, but there are possibly up to 5,000 parties in China alone that are on various Chinese-only discussion groups devoted to RChain. So I've made it my mission with Will and Mervyn Cheng in Singapore and others to really, really start taking advantage of and fueling this huge built-up, pent-up enthusiasm for RChain. So we've had 4 weekly debriefs. You can find out about them just simply by going to YouTube and searching for RChain Asia, and that'll bring up the first 4 debriefs that we've had. And we're going to be having our first RChain meetups in Southeast Asia this month in Bangkok and Singapore. There's been tremendous excitement in the Bitcoin and Ethereum mining community throughout Southeast Asia on becoming validators. So they've been going through Reflective and whatnot. And just tremendous potential here. And anybody in the RChain community that wants to become involved in these new activities, please contact me through Discord. And there's now also within Discord a dedicated RChain Asia channel for helping to build up this community. Any questions?
I would just add to that, Jonathan, that I believe Kit also put, be very careful what we say, because, Kit indicated from the meetup he went to Japan this past week that they're not, some of the miners aren't interested in stake points. So following up with certain actors to what their arguments are. I mean, certain people are certainly maximalists, right, for proof of work, but if someone says, "Oh no, proof of stake's not going to work," we should reach out to them and see what those challenges are in that debate. For example, the Japanese community, right? Like, just talk to them. So we can't win them all, but we should also follow up with parties that do have objections to proof of stake, right?
Yeah, well, there's enough parties that do not have any objections at all that I don't view that as a blocker, but certainly we should be reaching out to them as well. And it was a little hard to hear you entirely, Christian, but I think I got the gist of your question.
Right on. All right, apologize, yep.
I mean, we really, really value skepticism, right? So if there's a skepticism from a particular community regarding but not proof of stakes in general, because there are lots of proof of stake ideas that just don't pan out. But specifically Casper, the Casper family of algorithms, and the RChain version of Casper, we really want to hear about those, right? If there's any questions or technical considerations, we absolutely want to hear about those and engage in a dialogue. So yeah, if you have someone from one of the Japanese technical communities, sorry, something went down the wrong way, that has a question or a concern, please send them our way. We'd love to have that conversation.
Yeah, so that's where
any other questions or leads on Asia activity? Keep hearing from you.
No, I really, really appreciate you giving that, Jonathan. I wanted to sort of make space in the call on a regular basis for an update from the Southeast Asian RChain efforts. So it's really great to hear the kind of progress you're making.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so with that, I would like to talk a little bit about what's going on here at our house. We are currently engaged in a protocol that was designed by H3 Uni that's all about radical inclusion and radical transparency. So there are 24 participants in the protocol from across the RChain community. Meta's here representing some of the technical community. We have people from Pithia. We have people from Reflective. We have lots and lots of membership represented here. And the protocol, the way it's rolled out, there was a series of Zoom sessions last month and into this month to surface sort of some major topic areas of opportunity and challenge, and then that sort of got boiled down into 6 major areas of discussion. And you can visualize those as the 6 points on an octahedron. And then there are representatives who are representing both sides of a particular connection line along an edge of the octahedron that sort of show the relationships amongst those topic areas or areas of challenge and opportunity. So members of or participants in the protocol are going to they have to be responsible for 2 topics, the relationship between 2 topics. This gives us the ability to kind of see each topic both in relation to another, but also in context, and make sure that everyone gets exposure to lots of different viewpoints on the topics. It also allows us to organize the conversations, because we understand, like, you can have if you imagine sort of slicing the octahedron kind of along the 2 between the two opposite apexes, then you can have 2 concurrent conversations going on with respect to diametrically opposed collections of issues or topics. So the protocol design is actually quite deliberate. It makes sure that at every point someone is either engaged as an active observer or as an active participant in a set of topics or issues that are concerning the RChain community, that help us get in touch with anything that might be a problem between now and testnet, or between testnet and mainnet, both on the technical side, or on the organizational side, or on the governance side, or on the economic side. All of those things are fair game, and we're also trying to create this sense of radical inclusion. All the voices are heard. There's no topic that this is a safe space to bring up in any of the issues, and we're trying to make this a model that we can roll out in a larger way across the entire RChain community, right? So this hopefully these the 24 participants in the protocol become ambassadors or representatives for a process that we can roll out across the community. So let me see if there are any questions about that, and I'd love to see if I could get Ian Kendrick on to talk a little bit more about the protocol. Would you be willing to jump on the RChain community hangout and talk a little bit about your perspective? I can hand a device over to you now if you want to do that.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So hang on one second. So I've
Ian,
given them
thank you, and turn on your video.
Protocol design, but you should probably talk it through from your perspective.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
right.
turn on your video, Ian.
Okay, so if I do that. Hang on a second. It's not a phone I'm used to. How do I turn the video on?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Let's get these in the right way around as well. Thank you.
Unmute yourself.
Hang on a second. Sorry about this, everybody. Give me a moment here. The video is stopped. Right, hello.
There we
Right,
are.
can you now hear me and see me?
Both, thanks.
Right, hello everybody. You want me to talk about the protocol of what we're doing here, is that right?
Yes, particularly for all of us who aren't there with you right now.
Okay. If I could ask you a clarification question, how much do you know about the work we've done to get us here today? So what we've done going into this session? Is that...
What we had was breakfast at the meeting. That's where we, as far as we got.
Okay, right. Thanks, Jim. Good to see you. What we've done is we had a set of online sessions where we focused on generating some Three Horizons input for RChain. Now, if you're not familiar with Three Horizons, I'll give you a very brief rundown of that. The basic notion of Three Horizons is that we have three horizons of time going on concurrently. The first one is Horizon 1. That's the horizon that we're in right now. And if you can imagine a vertical axis, which is sort of viability or fitness for purpose, and the horizontal axis is time. Over time, that horizon sort of falters and can fail. And that in the world, we see that right now with lots of conflict and political systems not functioning properly, governance systems not going well, the environment suffering, and so on. Horizon 3, I'll come back to Horizon 2 in a second. Horizon 3 is the emerging future of what we're trying to get to, and that takes that's a goal to achieve. But there's bits of that taking place right now. And the second horizon is the journey between those two places. How do we get out of Horizon 1 and towards the better future we want to build? What we've done with RChain is spent some time with the folks who are in this session that we're running right now, understanding what Horizon 1 looks like for RChain, what Horizon 3 looks like for RChain, and very specifically what Horizon 2 looks like, and what those issues and initiatives that we can invest in right now in terms of time and energy that will actually lead us out of Horizon 1 to Horizon 3. Out of that work, which generated something like 110 inputs is what we got, we then distilled that down to 6 core topics. That's what this 2-day session is focusing upon, which is diving into those 6 core topics and understanding how they interact with each other, which is really sort of getting to grips with the complexity of the issues that RChain has to work with. So the way that will be done is that on those 6 topics, out of the 24 people, 2 things will happen. One is that 4 people for each topic will look after the topic and sort of try and understand it, and understand how that topic interacts with the other topics. Each person forms a linkage between one topic and another topic, and then moves around the whole structure, so that by the end of the 2 days, via multiple sessions and interactions, we're holding not just a depth of knowledge about each of the topics, but also about the interactions between them and the complexity of it all. We're just starting that process now. That's a very rapid run through. I should be wearing my t-shirt because on the t-shirts we have, in fact, let me see if I can just walk inside and show you something which will help illustrate this perhaps a little bit better. So I'm just running through. I'm hoping that you can see this here. Hang on, how do I flick camera on this phone? How do I do that? How do I go to my other camera on this? I'm not used to this phone. How do you flick? How do you flick the front to the front camera? How do I do that? Got it. See it up there. Got it. Oh, and go. Now it goes. Now it goes. Okay, right. So if we look here on this chart, can I just squeeze in, guys? I'm just taking it. If we look at this chart, you can see that here is the work that we did. There is Horizon 1. Over here is the Horizon 2 stuff. And in the center here are the 6 topics. And I've got a better representation of that, because if we go over here, this is the front of a t-shirt, which is actually John West's t-shirt. And here you can see the 6 topics that we're working with that came out of that 3 Horizons process. So the yellow topic up here is accelerating growth of the critical ecosystem, a primary issue for RChain to work with. We then have this one, which is participative governance with global reach. Coming down to here, we have coherence transcending conflicting agendas. We have operational effectiveness and resilience. Got a low power mode coming on. Where am I? Down here. Operational effectiveness and resilience. And then pervasive RChain technical and design skills. And lastly, or by not lastly, just as in this sequence anyway, is a very powerful and globally visible story of RChain. So those are the 6 topics we're working with. The interactions will take place, like I say, over the next day and a half, out of which what we will do, to come back to what Jim was saying, was about the busk that took place only a mile from here in Seattle, which was giving a diagnostic and some insights using a systemic perspective. We will return to that systemic perspective tomorrow, but this time not informed just by me spending a day and a half or 2 days with RChain, but by this group of 24 really doing a much deeper dive, and therefore a much better informing of that systemic diagnostic.
Very good.
Is that okay?
That's great. Just check and see if there are any questions from the community.
Have not yet, but that's a great question from Greg, which is, we're wondering whether you have any questions that you would like to have the community here work with.
Ian, I have a question. I've started writing a doc, and I can post that, but what is the purpose of the cooperative, and how is it going to function after the release of mainnet?
Okay, I'm just looking for a pen so I can make a note of that. Good to see you, by the way. How are you?
Thank you, Ian. Thank you for coming. Thanks for coming up to Seattle.
Well, Tony's here as well, and our colleague Roger. I'm wandering around looking for a pen, because if I don't make a note of that, it's sort of holding some. If you can look around, here are people with their t-shirts on. Okay, sorry about Grinch's t-shirt.
Hey, I'll send you a DM on Discord if that works for you.
Nope, I can go right now. Give me that question again, would you? Okay. What was the purpose?
Talking about the purpose of our cooperative and how it will function after Mercury launches.
How does it function? Yeah, I'm sorry about the movement around after Mercury launches. I'll stop moving around right now, okay? Yeah, okay, I'm passing back.
We're looking at the table.
Yeah, yeah, I'll just leave it at that right now. Sorry about the moving around. My apologies. Okay, so I've got any other questions you'd like me to table with the group here? It's all quiet, I think. Okay, I'm going to hand you back to Greg and carry on with the work here. Nice to talk to you all. Bye for now.
Hopefully that gives people a sense that we're trying to be as proactive as an organization as possible to make sure that we go through any organizational issues or governance issues in advance of launching testnet and in advance of launching mainnet, and beginning to design and roll out protocols that we hope will enable us to stay ahead of any issues rather than constantly being chasing issues after the fact. Much prefer to be proactive rather than reactive. Okay, so let's see. With that, we have about 4 minutes left. I wanted to see if there are any questions, any updates from the bounty system folks.
Greg, yeah, thank you so much. We are trying to get together, how can we support Archon 3? This is going to be a wonderful event. And we've been very, very pleased with the lectures on design of computational calculi. And we'll ask you some questions. It's late in this meeting, but we'll ask you some questions offline that have come up in our work groups that are following that series.
Awesome. No, I appreciate that. I want to give a special shout out to all the people who participated in that. Glenn Braun, Tomas Grospik, and Kenny, and everyone who's been engaged. It's been a source of energy and delight for me to be able to talk about the mathematics that gave rise to the model of computation we use within RChain. So it's been really helpful, and also just trying to make sure that a larger community understands the tools that can and should be used on a more widespread basis for designing systems like this.
We've got 3 work groups one's in Europe, one's in Asia, one's in Africa that are following as best as we can. We certainly have more questions, but it's generating a tremendous amount of buzz. People are interested at meetups. They're interested in following through with correct by construction and formal verification. This is an awesome thing.
I'm so glad. I'm really glad to hear that. And correct by construction and formal verification are necessary in mission critical systems. And when we talk about rebooting the global financial infrastructure, that's about as mission critical as you get. So there's a real need for it in a setting like RChain or in blockchain in general. So great, thank you very much for that. Again, I want to stress there are 2 major pushes here. One, we really need to get the word out about RCon 3. RCon 3. 2, if you want to participate in the validator sale, then definitely it's time to connect via the website or to contact me directly, because as I said already, almost half of the 80 million rocks are spoken for. So please follow up on that. Jacob, if you would like to schedule a call to go through your proposal in detail with me this week, I will be happy to do that. So please don't don't feel left out. We have to go through each one of these on a case-by-case basis. So the pipeline is a little bit longer and a little bit more involved than it is for just a simple sale of rocks. So we may be a little bit slower in responding, and that's because there's a lot more that goes into the consideration of this particular sales. And people need to be a little bit more comfortable with uncertainty, and that's because this is a different kind of animal. This is much more high-touch kind of engagement, much more independent case-by-case kind of engagement, rather than a mass sale where it's not like walking into Target and and buying a towel. So this is a very different beast, and that's why people may feel like there's some uncertainty that might normally not be there, but that's because this is we're talking about securing the network here. So it's mostly about that rather than about speculation. So please understand and bear with us on that point. Okay, with that, unless there are any burning questions, we're right at the top of the hour. And we need to return to the H3 uni process. But let me just take a quick moment and see if there are any burning questions from the community, and otherwise we'll sign off.
Hey, Greg, it's Kelly. Who should we work with? You gave a great description of the demo and what's going to happen, and we can certainly follow up and draft some content, but who should we work with to get clarification on content that we can use to help market that demo in RCon 3?
I'm sorry to say right now it's me. And I'm completely overloaded.
I know.
I know, but we're I'm trying to pass as much of that off to Patrick as possible. We're right now creating 5 interview videos. So we're interviewing Imogen Heap, we're interviewing Adrian Ballou, Julie Slick, Paul Richards, and oh my gosh, one more performer whose name is escaping me. All of whom are have extremely large audiences, extremely large followings, and we'll be talking about their work, why they're excited about RChain, and why people want to be at RCon 3. So we'll be dropping those videos between now and RCon 3. So that's one marketing push that's happening, and then they'll be trying to get as much in terms of the overall messaging downloaded to Patrick and the marketing team as possible, so that you can get clarity on that.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, I'll follow up. Thanks.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so with that, I'm going to sign off and say thank you so much to everyone. Look forward to seeing you next week, and really looking forward to seeing you at RCon 3.